Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to MF Corner on CNBC TV18. I'm Vinnii Motiwal, with me Sonal Bhutra as well. Sonal, today what we're going to be putting the spotlight on is something very interesting, right? I find it interesting. AI is everywhere, but AI and our finance, our mutual funds, and is that going to be changing how we are looking at our portfolios? I think that's something interesting.
That's exactly what we are going to discuss today, because AI has overtaken a lot of aspects of our lives, right? And that's exactly what we are going to talk about today, from markets to now mutual funds. We'll discuss with some experts, should they really rely on artificial intelligence to make changes to their portfolio, or it's only the human involvement that is the way, because we talk about that EQ or the emotional quotient part as well, right? We have different market cycles, different market moods. How much should investors bank on this, and should they really rely on this? This and more we are going to discuss with our guest today, Deepak Shenoy, founder Capitalmind and Dhirendra Kumar, CEO at Value Research. Gentlemen, such a pleasure to have both of you on the show today, and I'm looking forward to this conversation because there are diverse views, right? And Deepak, let me start with you, because we've had this conversation earlier as well, how people are using AI even to write comments on social media or to write posts on social media. So for every minor detail in your life, you're seeing AI being used. Now that we are talking about mutual funds or markets, do you really think this is one place where we'll see more involvement? Because 1% of mutual funds are powered by AI in India, which compares with 35% in the US. Do you think we'll also make that shift towards a higher number? Is this in the works? Your first take.
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. I noticed that you also have noticed on Twitter a lot of these things. So, people using AI to make responses. I think, the way mutual funds are, you can't actually delegate your decision-making authority to anything, including an algorithm, an AI, or whatever you may call it. So in the end, it's the human, the fund manager, that's responsible, and eventually the AMC that is responsible for making those decisions. And at best, AI, I think, can be a useful assistant, because I was talking to someone today morning, and I actually mentioned this. AI is like a 24-hour assistant. You can go in the night at 11 o'clock and say, I want to research something. Can you help me find the right sources for it? AI can actually point things out to you much faster than the traditional search engines, which seem to be polluted with advertisements and too much of this SEO business, which doesn't help you get to the right kind of context fast. It can help you in maybe analysis of data, which is very, very large. Because now earlier you needed to get a programming team to hire to get all this data together and then crunch them and maybe bring something out. Sometimes Excel is too small and unwieldy for such things. Using AI, you can actually write code without even being a programmer. It'll be able to kind of write code to analyze this in much more detail and give you an initial answer. Of course, you have to validate and vet all of this. What I'm really afraid of, and I think we will avoid, is using AI to directly talk to customers where they're looking for help or support or a meaningful answer. I don't think you can delegate any of that to AI. At best, you can train your customer support team to be able to use, to give the right kind of answers. But it has to come from a human being for the most part. And other than mundane tasks like tell me my portfolio value or tell me my transaction status, which doesn't even need AI. I would say that is not, apart from that, I wouldn't use AI in a customer-facing, unfettered environment. It has to have some ring-fenced controls around it.
Absolutely, there has to be some control around it, as well as customer facing. That is something that would be risky. If I'm looking at my portfolio, I wouldn't go and trust AI blindly, but each to their own view. Dhirendra, good afternoon. What's your view coming in here as well? Sonal was mentioning this number, 1% of mutual funds, that are powered by AI right now. Do you see this increasing, or do you think now, given that we're seeing this shift towards AI, that is a possibility to reach a higher number there?
No, the use of AI will grow. But, in its current form, cannot truly manage your stock portfolio or, mutual fund selection or stock recommendation or even advice. While algo and machine learning can accelerate research and analyze trend and, identify signals, But the act of making an investment decision, in this complex, nuanced, and a noisy market remains a human responsibility. I don't think it is, we are going to delegate that easily, or it's anywhere close to that. And I think, the most successful investors, utilize technology to enhance decision making. And I don't think it is going to replace it. It will be a great accelerator. It will be a process enhancer. But it is quite some time away from, being a substitute for human judgment or discipline.
So we know that investing is purely a human, or I would say it's technical in some aspects, of course, when you have investments in quant funds, but largely it has got a lot to do with human intelligence as well, right? So we have to focus on that purely. So if we are talking about some of the tools which are already being used, gentlemen, Deepak, let me start with you. Are there some AI tools that investors are already using now to access stock holdings, get them analyzed, or is it right now only for tertiary purposes?
Well, I think just saying that AI will analyze a stock portfolio is, I think, a little premature. But you can do different things. For instance, you own a bunch of companies. As an investor, I would like to be on track of all of the news of those companies, right? Even as a fund manager, a fund manager would want to actually go through anything that is happening. So you can use AI to kind of find and track news, analyze a conference call transcript that is maybe 20 or 30 pages long and give you a summary so that you can know where to look inside. So it's a useful assistant for a lot of downstream research. But to just say, oh, take this company and tell me whether I should buy it or not, I don't think you should do it to AI, because AI can hallucinate. You can try this. Use any AI tool and say, tell me why I should buy this company. And then it will give you a nice, very well-reasoned answer. And then you say, tell me why I should sell this company. And it will also give you a very well-reasoned answer. You're the one making the decision. It's detecting the bias in your voice and then telling you exactly what you want to hear. You don't want that from anyone, even an assistant. You want someone with a mind. You want, who can actually discern between right or wrong in this case. And AI is not going to do that for you. So at this point, I think the better thing to do is use it for specifics. I want to get a conference call transcript summary. I want you to summarize a video where a promoter was being interviewed, so that I can figure out which points in the interview I should look at more carefully. I understand this to help me understand the sector a little more. Tell me where to start looking for information. It's useful to kind of give you that overall framework of thinking that you can then deep dive into. But the deep dive is all yours. Eventually, validation is all yours. So I think there is a lot of value, because it helps you go through documents and data in a much faster way than you were earlier used to. And today we have a massive inflow of data from everywhere. You get WhatsApps, you get this, you get that, you get YouTube videos, podcasts. So there's only so much time in the day for you to be able to track all of this stuff. But you need somebody to tell you that something is interesting. This was, let's say, a job done by human beings. That would actually, you would require 2 or 3 people to kind of help you with understanding or keeping track of a lot of things. You could perhaps use AI to help you do this a little bit better. But I don't think it should be anything simplistic or decision oriented, because that is going to cause grief more than anything else. We use it for a lot of other things, understanding legal agreements in a framework that we have decided. So saying, okay, are there any things that are non-compliant in these legal agreements before we sign them? Certain other aspects of compliance, it can tell you automatically how, what kind of policy changes are made, so that you can fine tune your operations as well. But AI as a decision maker, I think we are just too early for. People have tried stuff. I think a large amount of fund management in general is about luck also. So you will find that there'll be some lucky AI investment managers as well. But, times will change. And when times change, it's the subjectivity of the fund management process that can perhaps help in understanding how to navigate tough times. So you don't have too much of a tough time in the last 5 years.
Absolutely. So what I'm understanding, obviously AI can be used to compile your data, not to stock pick or figure out what you want to do. Dhirendra, comment on this point as well. Are you using anything in terms of AI for maybe just compiling, researching, anything on that front? And do you think AI can, maybe if people start using it like an everyday thing to pick stocks or pick funds, can it be held accountable like a fund manager? How do you go over that, right? Because you don't have anyone to say that, oh, you made a mistake, so I'm going to be, pointing my finger at you, kind of a thing.
No, I'm using AI very intensely for my writing work, and it has added a magical dimension to my work. In fact, after writing my weekly column, and actually, I write 3 columns in a week, so it used to get tiring. Now, suddenly, after these 25, 30 years of boring, mundane writing in a narrow subject, my life has become suddenly interesting. And I really look forward to writing. I really look forward to improvising. I now spend, it's not that it has actually reduced my time. I spend more time because it is enabling me greater exploration, sharpness, fineness of my, the headlining or the section or the structure of us. Writing is a completely different exercise. You do it in a fairly isolated way, or is a lonely exercise. And here you have a very competent assistant at handy, and he's a multifaceted assistant. He's able to put together numbers, and in fact, what Deepak was just sounding, referring to, I use it so much more to find, rather than help me do things. I rather, I use it more to validate things, to verify things, find the errors, find the mistakes, how to improve, what are the principles of writing being violated, what is the principles of structure being violated. I think that is where it has actually made my life very interesting. Coming to value research operation. Here, because we have been a repository of plenty of data. In fact, we are actually I would say we were the first historian of mutual funds. I have mutual fund information available, information on Indian mutual fund available since 1964. I have the history of Unit 64 repurchase and resale price from 64. I have the market price of master share, which started in 1986. I have the closed-end funds price as well as NAV, which initially used to be disclosed every 3 months and subsequently every week. I have a history of all that. To be able to retrieve that, make sense of it, it is proving to be a great assistant, a multifaceted. I really can't look forward to hiring any such assistant.
Right. So that is basically impacting jobs as well. That's my biggest takeaway here. But gentlemen, it's a very interesting discussion, but we have to get into a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll continue our discussion and talk about the legalities as well, because some of the brokerages have gone ahead, tied up for an AI assistant. So let's talk about that in greater detail. Welcome back. You're still tuned into MF Corner, and today we are discussing how AI can assist you in your portfolio management, or can AI become a portfolio manager itself? We are questioning this because recently there was a Mint report which suggested that Zerodha has become the first company to integrate MC with Claude AI, and this is where it is happening users to access and analyze their portfolio. In fact, 300 to 600 users have already started trying that. They are using Zerodha Claude MCP each day to get a sense of what their portfolio is doing. Deepak, in that case, let me start with you again. What can the regulatory perimeter be around AI tools advising on investment decisions? Since it has just started, it's just that drop in the hat. But do you think if it started being used the way it is generally in other aspects of life, some regulation will have to come in?
Well, I don't know. This is people looking at their own portfolio and running it through a tool, and they have to make their own decisions. How can you stop a tool from just emitting out, you know, uh, uh, this is what's happening in your portfolio and this is where you are and all of that stuff. And of course, there must be boundaries, but none of the brokers actually enable any specific kind of advice, right? So all they do is they'll create a model context protocol, which is the way to communicate with the broker to get your portfolio details. The actual differential in terms of how much of this is large cap and what kind of funds you have, what kind of stocks do you have, etc. I think that stuff you could actually write a non-AI program to access it as well, and kind of give a completely automated summary using some heuristics. AI is just another way to do the same thing, and you have to understand that to a certain extent, AI is limited by the data it is trained on. A lot of times we've seen that data that some of the AI versions are trained on is quite old. So it could be something like 2023 or 2024, and we're in 2025, nearly 7 months into 2025. So we are, we are. I think we should be understanding that the AI framework of, even if it was asked to make decisions, is going to be a little bit stale because the data is older than what we have. So to that extent, if customers are made aware that, listen, if you go to Google Finance and try to get the price of a stock, there's an automatic thing that, there's a formula, there's an API you can use to say, oh, give me the price of this stock on a spreadsheet. But as soon as you do that, it actually has a little disclaimer at the bottom saying prices are delayed, be careful, all that stuff. I think that kind of a disclosure, whenever there's somebody who's trying to do actual decision making, can be enabled by an AI framework, just in case, saying, listen, none of this is investment advice, but this is the framework I'm thinking about. That could be one way. But in the end, it's difficult for a regulator to say, don't do this to people who are doing it on their own portfolios.
Okay. Okay. So, actually, Deepak and Dhirendra, we thought it is going to be enough for this 23-minute show, but we have actually run out of time on this conversation. We never thought that would happen. So, I think we'll have to do a season 2 or an episode 2 of this conversation itself. We have to wrap up because we have to we are done with the show, but it was such an interesting conversation, and I think we'll do an episode 2 of this as well. But thank you so much for both of you to join us today. It's an interesting topic, evolving as well. Let's see which way things go when it comes to regulation. More importantly, implementation of AI when it comes to portfolio management as well. Thanks a lot for joining in today.
Thank you so much.
Okay, with that, we'll take your leave on this edition of MF Corner, but stay tuned for Closing Bell to take you through the last hour of trade.